Ho ho ho, and welcome to Sheffield Banjo Lessons. Today's present we're going to unwrap is an easy version of Jingle Bells. Just me, sorry. The big guy's a little bit busy at this time of year. But what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a different version of Jingle Bells. So a load of my students have asked me for this, as a couple of versions can be a little bit too tricky. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the melody for Jingle Bells, and then we're going to add in the licks, and we're going to add in the rolls, and we're going to see where those melody notes get absorbed and where they anchor in the song, so it makes it a little bit easier for us to learn. So with that in mind, let's crack on. Ho, 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 ho. So here we go. So this is going to be the easy version or easier version of Jingle Bells. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at where the melody notes are and what we've built around it to create the banjo composition. Okay, so the first bar that's going to come up on the screen now is going to show you the dashing through the snow part. And as you can see, it's string 4 open, string 1 open, 2nd fret on the G, open on the G, and then open on that string 4, the D string again. And that's going to sound like this. So think of dashing through the snow. You catch that? Dashing through the snow. Awesome. So we're now going to overlay what's going to happen to make it into a full song. And what you can see is there's not too much that's added in that first bar. Actually, all that's added is an open D string, string number 1. And what we're using is, instead of just playing notes on 1, 2, 3, 4, we're adding one of those and beats between them, between the 2 and the 3. And that's going to give us that nice little roll and little sort of bounce back to it, really. So it's going to sound like... Okay, so try that again. So hit pause, play that a few times and see if you can hear dashing through the snow still, but with that little extra bit to make it, like we say, a little bit more sort of banjo active for us. Okay. Now what you can see that's followed that though is where we had a giant amount of space, we've filled it. And we filled it just with basically an alternating roll. And that alternating roll is going to finish the bar off with over the timing of a 2 and 3 and 4. So we're going to have just string 3, 2, 5, 1, 3. And again. And that's not containing any of our melody notes, that's just filling the space for us, and it's allowing us to build that banjo rolling feel for it, so it becomes more of a banjo composition. So again, what you can see though, is there are spaces, and those spaces are intentional. Those spaces around those melody notes are giving the melody the ability to breathe that little bit, so you can actually expose it. So when I used the term earlier of anchor notes, these are the ones that you're going to listen in and out of your phrases to see if you can picture where the melody is. So if you're passing through something in a roll or a lick, you'll be able to then meet it at the other side and carry on your momentum with the more familiar melody part. So let's just play those first 2 bars now and we'll see how that comes together. Excellent. Moving on to bars 3 and 4, where we get the next phrase, what we're going to do is we're going to take that same part that we did in bar 1. We're going to have the melody notes, but we're just going to add in that one extra bounce string, that string 1 again. So we're going to have, in a 1-horse open sleigh, I think the lyrics are. So listen for it again. You've got the melody notes that are leading in. We've got a little extra in there to give it a bit more sort of musical continuity. And then we're ending on a different melody note, that 2nd fret in that C bar. So that's on your 4th string. That's that sleigh bit. Okay. And then after that, we've just got some more of that bar filler. We've got it where it's a bit of a sort of a different C roll. So we're going to need the full C chord for this one. And we're going to be playing strings 2, 1, 5, 1, 4. And that's on that same timing. 2 and 3 and 4. Again, letting the melody sort of breathe on one side and then giving us a gap into where the melody is going to continue on the other side of it. So again. So that line together then is. And what we're going to do is the next bar is going to have 4 melody notes in it. But what we're going to do is we're going to keep on this C chord. Even though it moves to a slightly different chord for us, we're going to just keep this where it is and let that carry on. And we're going to have our first melody note on that 4th string. Again, it's just going to start there. So the melody we're going to be listening for this time is for this first bar, and then we're just going to have that 4th fret on the next bar to finish the phrase. And that's on the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 again, right? But what we're going to do now is we're going to give it a little bit more momentum, and we're going to be playing a version of a forward roll in those first 4 notes of the bar. But what that's going to do is that melody note on the 1st fret is going to shift, and it's going to shift just backwards into the bar by half a beat. So it throws it off where you would technically sing it, but we're going to roll through the actual sort of chord and the melody with it, and then pick it up on the outside for the last 3 notes. Okay, so you're going to keep that C shape on, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a forward roll with strings 4, 2, 1, 5 over the count of 1 and 2 and. And then I'm going to lift my index finger and I'm going to play that string, that 2nd string open. But at this point, we're also going to move our hand round, because what we're going to want to do is look forward into the next bar, see what's going to be required to fret. Because we're going to need that 4th fret coming up and followed by another 2nd fret on this middle G string. We're then going to lift away from our C, but then use our index finger to come down on that 3rd fret, that 3rd string, 2nd fret on that G string, right? And we're going to play that, and that allows then our ring finger to reach for that 4th fret. It's a bit of a stretch, but they're a good stretch to do because you're going to see them quite often in your banjo life, just over a D chord, and sometimes you see over different rundowns and things that are done in C. But for now, you're going to utilize that as part of this D chord over that sort of feeling. So you're going to be C chord, lifting for that open B string. Then we're going to move round. Index goes 2nd fret on your G, and then ring reaches over 4th fret of that D. And that bar with this end melody note is going to sound like this. Okay? And then what we've got now is we've got that bit of filler again for the rest of the bar. So it's doing a forward roll, but it's doing this different forward roll where, if you follow it, we're just going to need that 2nd fret on. So if you're struggling to keep that 4th fret on the D string, you can move it out of the way. If you can keep it held on, that's awesome, because you get a lovely sort of a note sort of ghosting over the top of the rest. But if you can't, don't worry about it. Let's lift out for now so you can see what's going on. Now, if you take a look, we can see the thumb is playing that 1st note of the roll, so that's 2nd fret on beat number 2. Then we've got string 1, And because the forward roll is then going up to the high G, the 5th string, we then can't use our thumb for that 2nd fret again. So we're going to have to use our index finger instead. And that's going to have to come up to the middle string. And then string 1. And that's going to be a little version of a forward roll. It's a bit tricky because what you're getting used to is bringing that index finger up to the middle string if you've not done it before. But just keep working on it. Once again, it's something that's in loads of songs, so it's going to be super handy for you. Okay, so those 2 bars together. Cool. And as you can see, there's a gap after that last note, so we've got a little space so that we can then have a look at the next 2 bars on their own. So the next 2 bars, once again, you can see we've got these first sort of 4 notes that are built in around a little roll. And then we've got 2 notes that have got a bit of space around them, and that's going to help us shape that melody again. So the melody we're looking for is hopefully that sounds a bit familiar for you now. And again, what we've done is we've moved this melody note. So what you can see is that 3rd fret, if you remember how your banjo's tuned, it actually makes a D, which is the same as your open 1st string D. Cool. So actually it's the same melody note twice. Or but what we're doing is we're going to allow ourselves to be a bit more fluid on the banjo, and we're going to involve it in a roll. And it's the thing you see again time and time again, which is that 3rd fret on string 2 making the D, but we're going to roll around it, and we're going to go strings 2, 1, 5, 1. And that's over your count again of 1 and 2 and. Right? Now, if you notice very soon after that, there is that 1st fret. So if we count through 1 and 2 and 3, so we know that actually needs to be connected to that roll that we've just done. The way we're going to do that then is we're fretting that 3rd fret with our ring finger, and we're going to then move back to our index finger and build this D7 chord that we're going to need. Okay. See that again? Cool, so we've come down into that D7 chord now. Right, what we're going to have to do after that is involve that last melody note, so we've got all the way. And it's going to be that open B on string 2. Yep, and then just more filler, as you can see, pinch, and then a thumb on the 4th string, pinch. Okay, so you've got and you've taken your way through the first 4 lines here now. 1, 2, 3, 4. All the first 4 lines for you in that song. Filler. So hopefully see how that solo then builds around those melody notes. So looking at the next half of this verse, we've got the same again. We've got the same as that first bar, which is the... And we've just added that same extra note to bounce around that beat 2 and beat 3. even have the same bit of filler, the same little roll afterwards. Okay, let's have a look at the next 2 bars then. That was our melody before, and as you can see, we're going to do something very, very similar again. Right, and then what we're doing now is we're going to have a little bit of a roll in there again. And it's the same one that we've seen before. And the idea of this continuity is it gives us that sort of idea we're renewing this verse again. You can have slight changes in it, but if we just use this now, we can master that down, and it really gives the flavour and the continuation. We know what we're expecting when we get to these verse parts. Right then, so what's going to be the next couple of lines after that? Well, we're going back to that. It's that same thing where we're keeping that C shape on. Even though it's over an A minor, we're keeping that C shape on because that's most of the A minor, and we're going to lift. Boom. Let's have a look at that. Same as we had before then. So we've got a forward roll in that C shape, lifting the index, and then moving over to that 2nd fret on the G string. But because we're moving into the chorus, what we're going to do is we're going to change these last 2 D bars, and we're going to let that sort of feel like it lifts it up and announces itself going into the chorus itself. The previous D bar itself had that 2 and 4 formation. Right? So that came down, but what we're doing this time round is we're going to add in this 3rd fret again that we've seen, which makes that same D note as we had before. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a little forward roll again, but we don't need to use the middle string on this one because we want it over D. We're going to keep these D notes nice and bright and active. So we're going to do strings 2, 1, 5, 2, 1 over the count of 1 and 2 and 3. We also have another melody note which is on that same D string, and we're just going to keep that in on its own, nice and exposed, and that's just going to be an extra 2nd finger playing that 1st string. And the melody that fits over is actually just 4 of that D note. But we're adding more notes around that so that we can roll through and keep it nice and active. So the melody on the 2nd bar of this D is going to be leading into the chorus. And the way we're going to incorporate that is we're going to fret that 2nd fret, and we're adding that behind our already fretted 3rd string. So you're probably going to have your ring finger down already from this one, from the previous bar. And from there, we're going to just bring down our index to that 2nd fret. And what we'll do is we'll play string 1 and then string 2. And then we're going to lift index for that open D before we go to the high G. So that's going to be over counts 1 and 2 and. And then we're going to have to slide back and get into that D7 formation from there. So your index finger's already up, so it can lean back and let you create that D7 to just give you the next 2 melody notes. And we'll finish with an open note and pinch. And that lets the melody build up to then get ready to announce and have a little bit of space as it leads into the chorus. So again, those last few bars. And now we're ready to go into the chorus. So now looking at the melody for the chorus, if you remember it as jingle bells, right? Well, that's just the same note. And it's just that B, it's the open B on that second string. Jingle bells, jingle bells. So it beats 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then that fourth one is just a little rest. So if it's all the same melody note for ages, well, we can utilise that. And what we can do is we can use that idea to keep that melody note in mind, but build in around it, like we did with the rolls previously, but we're going to do this with a little lick now. We're going to bring our first technique in. And again, thinking about how the banjo is tuned, well, that second string open is a B. And if you can remember, or if you didn't know, the fourth fret of your G string is also a B. So you've got G, A on the second, and then B on the fourth. They're the same. So what we're going to do now is then we are going to play a slide, and we're going to play it from the second fret on that G, and we're going to slide into that melody note. Now if you look at that timing, the slide hits its destination on the next and beat. So if you look at that little roll, that little lick, it's 1 and 2 and, but we're sliding on the and. Okay, so it's sliding underneath the open string. And that's giving us that melody note. And it's going to let us carry it through a little bit. But to give it a bit of bounce, after we've done that little 4-note lick, what we're going to do is just have open note pinch, so that we can build a bit of a sort of repetitious sort of bounce to make it a bit more fun and a bit more active. And that's going to sound like this. So again, thinking for that, it's just going to let us have that bit more bounce and rhythm to it. But don't worry, if you're struggling to pick up where the melody is, this is where the next couple of bars are coming in, and they're going to have our anchor notes for us. So the jingle all the way part, it would be, okay, so that first note of the melody is on that B string again. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll keep that same idea, that same slide and that same first 4 notes, that nice little lick we've got. But then we're going to carry the melody of all the way, and that gives us again that anchor point that we're looking for. So those first 4 bars are going to give us the phrase of jingle bells, jingle all the way. And now it's going to sound in completion like this. Did you catch it? If not, hit pause, play it a few times. I always say play things into existence, which means you need to run through them a little bit, know what you're expecting, and then execute a few times so that you can try and get the idea of where that's going. So after that phrase we've got to so far, you can see there's going to just be a pinch bar. So it's going to be a pinch, then a 4th string and a pinch. Again, another good one for giving us space between lines. So we're just going to have it with its pinch, 4th string, then pinch again. So adding it to the end, you'll see where it gives that space. And what that allows us to do is now we're going to change into a C chord. It gives us that little bit of space and build up so that then when we move into the C chord for Oh What Fun, it gives us a lot more sort of openness, feeling and lift to it. So into the next one, the melody is going to be Oh What Fun. It's going to be on that 1st fret of the 2nd string. And it's going to be part of a C chord for us, okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to do an alternating roll for the first part and then follow it with a pinch. And this is for Oh What Fun. Then for the next one, the next bar, we're going to come out of this C chord, but what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to use that 3-2 formation we've seen before. So we're going to lift, but our first two fingers are the right way around. We're just going to let those drift down to strings 1 and strings 2. And we're going to play that forward roll again, 5-2-1-5. And then the next note is open, and that's going to be over the count of 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, so those two bars together. So the next phrase is going to be on a 1-horse open sleigh, right? So the melody for that is going to be using that first beat of the bar, which is the open note, and then we're going to want this 2nd fret on the G string. Then the open B again, 2nd string, and then back to the G string. Cool. But to make it a bit more interesting, because it's over this slightly weird chord that we, don't see very often. See, over the A7 or the A, you don't always see that in the songs in this sort of key. To allow us to sort of hear that, what we're going to do is we're going to have another bouncing note, but it's going to be using the 2nd fret of our 1st string. And what that lets us do then is, just fretting the first one to begin with, is go. You hear how it gives that cool sort of discordant sound, right? So that's what we really want in here, as it now announces its way in. So we've just added that bounce note on that 1st string. Right? Practice that a few times. You're going to fret with the middle finger first, and then you're going to bring your ring down on that 2nd fret of the 1st string. And then you've still got that string open, that B string, the 2nd string open for your last melody note. And then sleigh's going to be on the 2nd fret that we've still got down already. And then we're just going to lift so that we can get an open pinch. And again, that gives us that nice sort of like, hey, feeling that then announces us back into Jingle Bells again. And what the Jingle Bells will do is it's just going to repeat a load of the stuff that we've had before. It's that same phrase, same phrase. So those bars are exactly the same as the first time round. Again, giving that sort of repetition idea of singing the Jingle Bells and giving us that rolled momentum with the added slide to make it feel more bright and lively. Okay, now let's have a little look at how it's then going to come out of the next sort of 2 phrases, right? The next 2 bars. So let's see what happens on that C chord then. Okay, we've got this same sort of alternating roll that we had the first time round, with a pinch. And then, let's have a look at this next one. Oh, it's that same 3-2 that we've got to move over to. And we're going to lift, like we did before, but we've got a different melody note now. The melody note is on the 1st fret of that B string, giving us a... Okay? And now we're coming into the last 2 lines of the song. And what we're going to do is, from this place we were in the previous bar, which is that 1st fret on the B, we're going to slide up 1, and we're going to have a nice little hammer on this time to give us a little sort of fun, quick technique. And it's going to be hammering on over the, between the 1 and the and. So it's that E, if you're familiar with it, the 1 E and. So you're going to have it bang between the 1 and the and. It's going to dissect that. And if you remember, it's hammering from that second fret into the third, which gives us, and those are the two melody notes we want here. It's the first two of that phrase. But what we're going to have is as the bar. And that's shaped with that technique, the 2 to 3. And then we're coming back from 5th to the 1st string. And then we're sliding back to that D7 again for counts 3, 4, and then open. Cool. So thank you for joining me today, and hopefully you get to enjoy and play Jingle Bells with your family or friends too. So if you enjoyed the lesson today and you would like to see the tabs that accompany all of this, and maybe also the ones for the melody, the accompaniment, and a trickier solo, you can get these along with the backing tracks, and they're all available at the Ko-Fi store, and the links that are below now. So the other thing you can do is wait till the end of the lesson, and along with this there's going to be a backing track that you can use online. And I'll also link in the other lesson that shows you the arrangement for the slightly trickier version of Jingle Bells. So thanks again for sticking with me. Enjoy your Christmas, happy holidays, and happy picking.